Greetings everyone, the Retron Gamer here, and today I'm going to be reviewing a clone console known as the Retron 2 by Hyperkin, which is a really great idea for a device. Here it is, the Retron 2. As you can see, it's one of those 2-in-1 consoles. This one being the for the NES and Super Nintendo. And this is by the same company that makes other clone consoles such as Retron 3, which also has the Genesis front end. But I didn't get that one because I'm not too familiar with Genesis. Plus that one I hear wasn't that good. Now so far, I've seen this one's pretty good. Its compatibility, so far of all NES and Super Nintendo games I've gotten so far, it works with them. I mean, right now in my scene I have Abadox, which I'm going to be reviewing really soon on the NES, and for Super Nintendo, Mortal Kombat 2. Of course, I also have some other goodies for the Super Nintendo, like All-Stars, and for the NES I have 3D World Runner, which I'll definitely be reviewing at one point, Double Dragon 2, Rad Racer, Star Tropics, and Kung Fu Heroes. Great game. Actually, all these are a lot of fun. I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with games like Rad Racer and Double Dragon. And so far it works very well with the games from both systems that I've tried so far. And surprisingly, these NES games work really well on top-loading consoles, especially since they're originally designed for a front-loading console. Of course, Super Nintendo works well for a top-loader because, well, the system is always a top-loader. And the design is very good, very reminiscent of the first model of the Super Nintendo, even down to a color scheme. Which, if any of you have ever had the original Super Nintendo, it had the same color scheme as this. Then so did the second Super Nintendo, which was much smaller, and to be honest, not as good as the original Super Nintendo, as it didn't have the eject button, which the first Super Nintendo had, and this has. The only complaint of this that only works with Super Nintendo games. It doesn't work with NES games for some reason. Get back in here. So far, the only complaint that some NES games are very hard to get in, and some are very difficult to remove. And, well, the system comes with 2 controllers, but I would recommend that if you have NES and Super Nintendo controllers, please use those. Or buy third-party ones, or older ones if you can. Third-party ones are newer, so they'll probably last a bit longer. That's what I did, because, yeah, I got the controller that was based off of the NES 2 controller, that's the top-loading NES, and one based off the Super Nintendo controller. Faithfully, for my dad. These controllers suck. This thing is especially this NES one. This one's extremely unresponsive. And I found out when playing Star Tropics that you press down to go, so most of the time you end up either going left or right, which is a real pain. This controller is pretty bad too, but at least the games are at least playable with this piece of junk. Again, Hyperkin has not been known for making good controllers. So please, if you want to get this console, And if you're a fan of the NES and Super Nintendo, you already have accessories in a lot of them, and you don't feel like getting the Retron free, this is for you. Especially if you had an NES and the Super Nintendo, or had them and they broke. I mean, because I had both NES and both models of Super Nintendo at one point. All of which died. So this is a great buy. As this thing, especially considering this thing was about $45. It's a good quality build, pretty stable. Works well. It works well with a lot of the things like these controllers. And like I already said, works better than this piece of junk. The only problem is that some of the NES games are really hard to get out of this thing. Really difficult to get out of this thing. But the sound's pretty good, and the picture quality is really good when using them, even when using them on a modern television. And I would definitely recommend this if you're a fan of the NES and Super Nintendo, and you still have games but you don't have the systems anymore, or if you're like me and you have just got back into classic gaming and are collecting the actual systems. It's very satisfying to use an actual NES controller and have an actual NES cartridge. Especially great as for a lot of these older games. You can find them at certain used game stores and on places like Amazon and eBay relatively cheap for most games. Especially NES games. Most of these you can find really cheap. I mean, I don't think I have a game that right here. I don't think I have gotten an NES Super Nintendo game yet that costs more than $30. In fact, most NES games will run you like somewhere between $2 and what, $10-15. Great find, and you can get you can play a good portion of the library from both of these consoles. Well, Retro Indie Gamer signing off. Until next time, everyone.